Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. Our guest today is James Woolsey, who was the first CIA director under Bill Clinton back in 1993 and who is now a senior advisor to Donald Trump, a senior advisor on the transition if Donald Trump is elected president on November the 8th. He joins us via satellite from Washington, D.C. Mr. Woolsey, thank you for being with us.
Good to be with you.
So we are less than a month away from Election Day, and the campaign is turning downright ugly at some point. The Republican nominee is mired into sordid revelations about his remarks as well as his behavior towards women, while Hillary Clinton is facing a daily raft of hacked email about the inner workings of her campaign. And as a result, there's very little talk about substance and about foreign policy and national security. So I want to ask you a question that's been on the minds of many people in the US as well as in Europe. Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, there's a lot of tension. Some are talking even about a new Cold War. However, Donald Trump seems to admire Vladimir Putin. And so there are lots of questions as to what he would do with Vladimir Putin, confront him, as many people are saying, or be maybe too nice to him.
Well, I think it's hard to extrapolate from cordial words to major policies, whoever you are in public life. In World War II, we badly needed Stalin and the Red Army in order to defeat Hitler and free Europe, including France. And Roosevelt used to put his arm around him when they were meeting together and call him Uncle Joe and so forth. Now, as soon as the World War II was over and the Cold War started, it wasn't nearly as cordial. But sometimes in diplomacy, one has to be cordial with tough folks. And Stalin was more than tough. At that point, he had killed more people than anyone in history. And Roosevelt still called him Uncle Joe.
Would this be your recommendation to Donald Trump to be nice towards Vladimir Putin at a time when he's accused in the West of bombing the civilians in Aleppo?
I'm not advising on policy. I'm advising the campaign on transition, and what I said I think should apply to most any figure making decisions in international affairs. You have some flexibility in tone and nuance, and if you're not making promises that cannot be kept or that you don't plan to keep, I think you have some flexibility. A promise that was not kept is President Obama's promise to draw a red line and to be very harsh on the Syrian government if it moved in such a way as to gas its own people with chemical weapons. And then when Assad moved that way and did that, President Obama basically shrugged and handed the problem over to Russia. That is making a statement, a clear statement, and then going back on it.
What would Donald Trump do on Syria? It's very fuzzy until now. I mean, what would he do? I mean, he's saying, as you're saying, that Obama was wrong with the red line, with the current policy. What other course would he pursue, or would you advise him to pursue?
Well, again, I'm not advising on the policy any longer. I was briefly, but I'm now working on the transition. So if you just ask it in the form of what do I think would be a good idea to pursue, I would say that Assad and staying in office is incompatible with having a stable situation in that part of the world. We've made it harder on ourselves to remove him by using air power, for example, the way we did against Serbia in '99 in order to keep the Serbs from massacring the Kosovars. But we did that effectively with several months' worth of intense use of air power in '99, and Milosevic died in prison, and there's a Bill Clinton Avenue in Pristina. So one can do a great deal with air power if you do it right. I don't think that's the only thing we need to do, but I think we need to keep Assad, and he's now working very closely, of course, with the Iranians and the Russians. But we have to probably stand ready to use some force, and we certainly are not likely to be in the business of putting any more boots on the ground in Syria.
Right. As you mentioned, the 1999 event, I just want to read you what Donald Trump reportedly told a Serbian weekly. The bombing of Serbs was a big mistake. The Clinton administration caused them a lot of harm, also throughout the Balkans, which they made a mess out of. So you're saying this was a good decision. He's saying it was a major mistake.
I think it was a necessary decision at the time if one wanted to keep from having massacres of the Kosovars.
So you disagree with him on that?
Well, I say what I say, and he says what he says.
Right. I mean, is there maybe always the suspicion that he's towing the Russian line? This is just an example. And is there something to the Obama administration, the Clinton camp, saying Donald Trump is benefiting from the hacking, probably from Russia and so on? Or do you think this is essentially campaign talk?
I don't think that there's any effort to toe the line with the Russians. I mean, Mr. Trump says what he thinks, and sometimes that departs from what some of his advisors think. That's just the way politics are in free societies. Everybody doesn't always march to the same drummer and the same beat.
Right. He also talked in terms of the fight against terrorism in the last debate about extreme vetting. No one understands what this means. Could you try maybe to explain to us what he would do in terms of extremely vetting people?
Well, I would imagine it would have something to do with the use of identification procedures other than forged passports, which are very common in that part of the world. Recognition from what is done with in a lot of circumstances, with fingerprints, with scanning of eyes, and so forth. One needs to be as clear as one can be, not just with this situation, but with, I think, immigrants from that part of the world who might have some terrorists in their groups. All of that needs to be done very carefully and thoroughly.
Right. Another point, he threatened to put Hillary Clinton in jail for her use of the private email. You're a lawyer. That seems a bit exaggerated for a candidate to say, I'm going to throw you in jail.
I'm not going to get into the politics of all this. You need someone who's doing something other than transition work to assess that.
Right, but you're an expert on national security and you're a lawyer. I mean, is what she did really a problem, a breach of national security or not?
I'm not going to get into this particular case, but I will say this. Treating emails that are clearly classified by having them available on an open server that virtually anyone can get into is like putting your family treasures in a box on your front step, leaving it unlocked and leaving town. If somebody happens to come along who thinks it would be nice to take whatever you have in that box, they can do it.
Do you think that happened?
The same is true of a server that has essentially no security associated with it at all.
Coming to national security, Edward Snowden, there's talk that he could be pardoned. You recently said this shouldn't be the case. She should be tried and hanged.
Tried and, if found guilty by a jury of his peers. There are still 3 states in the United States that permit hanging as one method of execution. If lethal injections are failed for some reason. But it's less important how Mr. Snowden is punished, I think, than it is that he is somehow properly caught and tried. I think what he did was treason, and would be regarded clearly as an awful form of treason by anybody who's familiar with the materials that he turned loose to be published.
Mr. Woolsey, a last question. Are you troubled by all the revelations about Donald Trump's attitude, including reports of sexual harassment? I mean, are you troubled personally when you read all this?
I am not getting into that. That's part of the campaign politics and important disputes. But I am working on the transition, and I'm going to continue to work on the transition, but not on those issues.
Right. Do you share the view of the campaign that this is part of a character assassination, or you think this should be scrutinized, really?
The campaign can speak for what it wants to say. I am sticking to working on the transition so that if Mr. Trump wins the election, there's a smooth move into a new administration.
You're confident he will win?
I said if he does, that's what we who are working on the transition are working to bring about.
Okay, James Woolsey, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for watching this interview. Stay tuned for more news.